and Caleb.
This is Caleb, Becky, Jessica, and Donna interviewing Carrol Kannmacher.
Present and accounted for.
How about it?
Well, let's start with the questions you do have first, and then he can give you the one.
All right, how did you learn your information about All Right?
How did I find out about All Right?
Yeah.
I asked a lot of people, and my dad told me a lot of things about it. We lived there for 15 years, and just ask.
Okay, do you know when it was settled?
Huh?
When was it settled?
We got it in 1915, but I think the first store, that store was built in 1909.
When was the post office? When did they do that and they established the name?
Oh, you want to know when they established the name of All Right?
Yeah.
I wrote to Washington, D.C. Read that article before you maybe go too far.
I think if you go to the next page. Oh, there it is, right there.
Yeah. I am enclosed a list of postmasters and their appointment dates for that post office, which operated from 1892 to 1908.
And so,
Then turn over the page. The first postmaster was Henry Kyle.
Okay. The first postmaster was Henry Kyle, date appointed 3/10/1892. Second postmaster David Nickel, appointed 2/27/1894. Third postmaster Elmore N. Schlosser, 12/13/1904. What's that?
and that was when they actually had rural postal carriers. That's when they discontinued that post office.
Discontinued July 15th, 1908, mail to Marshall.
Now, tell them about how they got the name.
How they got the name? Some official, I don't know who, they decided they had to have little post offices out in the country because the farmers wasn't going into Marshall, or mail was piling up. So they decided they had to have little post offices out here. Some officials, I don't know if it was out of the post office or the head over Washington, picked this spot because it was 9 miles or 8 miles from Marshall. And they picked that spot. And they told these people, we've got to have a name. So a group of people got together and decided on a name. And he got a notice to come up to the courthouse a certain time and bring the name that they decided on. Well, this farmer was all nervous and shaky getting up there in that big courthouse. He'd never been in there before. And he stuttered and stammered and said, all right, and finally said, that's good enough, it'll be all right.
That's what I heard about
That's the way it's got its name.
It's pretty good.
And I don't know how they appointed the postmasters or to take care of these post offices, but they told me every time they changed presidents, they changed postmasters.
And that's the way it was on there every 4
And
years.
that's
It
the way
changed.
it was. And what else I can tell about that post office? Oh, the people, the farmers here would come in, they'd bring the mail down to All Right once a week, and then these farmers, or I'll say, would come there and pick up their mail, or bring their letters to send out.
What type of entertainment was there in All Right?
Well, in our store, Dad was about the first of everything. We had the first radio, Well, before that, the entertainment now would just be like a bunch of young boys coming instead of girls. Everybody walked, the young kids come there. They would play checker. They had the 38 board. What was it called?
I don't know, you told me yesterday and I forgot already.
Well, I forgot to. Anyway, they played a game with on that carom board. It had a bunch of things out there, and you'd shoot in the pocket and get up a score like playing pool. And they had a checkerboard to play checker, and they had a little table they played cards on, rummy and.
What about the eggs?
Huh?
Eggs?
Well, I haven't got to that yet. And let's see. They had all kinds of little contests to do, and they had an egg contest. One boy outsucked them all. He sucked 36 eggs.
Like you?
And he went home a making custard pie. Then, I don't know, other entertainment they had. We had a phonograph with them flat records, and they'd stood up about this high. In the bottom part, you kept the records. Some of the records that I know was Barney Google, this old gang of mine. And I can't remember the records we had. But that was kind of a calling card to get people to come. And the night of the Jack Dempsey and Gene Tinney's fight, it was called the Long Count. I forget how it was, kind of halfway crooked. But that store was full, and they was lined up outside listening to that radio.
Okay. You said you lived in All Right?
Huh?
You lived in All Right?
Yeah.
How old was you? Was you born there?
Huh?
Was you born in All Right?
No, I wasn't born there. I went there when I was about a year old. I was, it tells in there I was born August the 28th, 1914, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, in the northwest corner of the bedroom of Grandma's house.
Now, was that down where Grandpa and Grandma lived then, down there? Okay.
Yeah.
Which is probably, would that be a half mile, 3/4 of a mile away from All Right?
Mile and a half.
Mile and a half, okay.
What all businesses was there in All Right?
What?
What all businesses was there? Just that one store?
Well, there was 2 stores there, but now there was these stores was general stores. It wasn't grocery stores. You could buy anything. And I say there was a mini Walmart.
Mini Walmart?
You bought dry goods, because women sewed all the clothes and everything. And we had long john underwear, we had bib overalls, we had them the women's socks that come way up here, red socks, and rolls of goods that you know, I can't remember what I was to say, come by the yard. And I remember when they started black sateen, girls, bloomers. But they had gingham, calico, and everything in the line like that. And in the back of the store, we had a big kerosene oil barrel. We had cow feed, hog feed, chicken feed, and 50-pound sacks of flour and 25-pound sacks of flour. We bought cream from the farm, and we tested cream back there to see how it tested out. And we mailed it, they sent it up to Peoria on the train. And what else?
Did you have car parts then?
Huh?
Did you have any car parts? pieces for cars?
Oh, Dad was kind of a jack of all trades. He sold insurance. He was a notary public. We sold hunting license. Of course, you had to
Yeah, did.
use that. And he learned to be a mechanic, and he would work on cars. And
Now the other store was, who owned it?
the other store was just a general store.
Just a general store too.
They didn't do anything
Any different? It's
any
just-
different.
okay.
No.
And then there was a post office, so there was the 2 stores and the post office.
Yeah. Well, there were 3 post offices there.
Oh, really?
Henry Kyle,
Uh-huh.
Dave Nichols.
Oh, postmasters, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, they moved it over in there.
Oh, really?
Now, I understand Dave Nichol, Nichol, the first one, he had it in his front bedroom.
Uh-huh.
The house had 2 doors here in front, of course, it's a 2-story building. And they used this room over on this side as a post office.
Post office. Huh.
And had cubby holes in there.
Where they put the mail.
With the mail, and then when Dave Nichol got it, he had a little grocery store or little
Oh, yeah.
store, and he put some cubby holes in it. Then this here Elmer Slusser, he built that store down south there
Oh, okay. Uh-huh.
and put 2 stories on it, and he got to be postmaster. So I've seen them cubby holes there, but didn't have enough sense to go look and see what the name
Oh,
was.
yeah, I never thought about that.
So are these buildings still standing?
Huh?
Are any of these buildings still standing?
Any of the buildings still there?
Now, the old Cap Jackson building is there.
Yeah.
The top story was taken off, and it's just the old bottom story, and it's going this
Yeah.
way with weeds, and grass, and trees, and stuff growing up around it, and the house is this
It's the same
way.
way, yeah.
Can we get pictures of it still though?
Huh?
Yeah, you could probably go down there and take pictures of that store.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a map.
Yeah.
But the picture of our
Well, there's-
store is in
yeah.
there.
Yeah, I've seen
Did
that.
you get
That's a
that?
nice picture.
Do you have that map?
This
This one
Oh,
here's
yeah.
a picture of that,
The more detail?
of the All Right store. That one.
Wow.
And you can probably look this
All right,
up
hold on here.
in the Independent.
Do you have a map?
No, I'll have to ask, but this is in the Independent. This one's in the Planet. Let me check here.
No, that would have been
One
in
map?
Casey, but
Casey Reporter.
Planner was shut off.
One or the other, you can probably hear some more about it. Now, this one's in the Independent. So if you go to, that fellow made guitars. That's his brother.
But I thought it was you.
What, do you want to know where that's located?
And easy
Well, we
way
have
to
a more
get there.
detailed map that
Oh,
shows
yeah.
just like right here.
Yeah.
It's like around there somewhere.
Well, there's a picture of where it is.
Oh, that's right. I
There, there in the back. Whoa, 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 whoa. Oh, you said Grandpa, why don't you say
Dion.
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 Yeah.
Now, and down in Allright, years ago, there was a fellow come around selling patent medicine, and he was could perform magic tricks, and he had a boy named, the old man's name was Old Jack Swift, and he had a boy named Dion, and he come every year selling this medicine that cure everything. So Dad named his boy Dion. Another thing about Allright, the Gypsy tribe come through there every year. Did it tell in that article?
This. let's see, this
Anyway,
one. Yeah, this one.
the Gypsy tribe would come through around Decoration Day. And they, the Gypsies would trade horses and tell fortunes. The women go around telling fortunes and things like that, where they made their living. And they would come to our store and do their trading, and the women would. the kids would come and go all over the store, and you had to watch them real close. And somebody said they would take daddies off at the line and stuff like that. And this lady got the information from Mother about the people in the community. And this lady went to tell a woman's fortune, and the woman says, I don't believe in fortune. And this gypsy woman said, you're pregnant? And she said, if you know that, you can tell my fortune, because I ain't been pregnant over a month or two. And she got that information from my mother and went out there in the community. Now that's how they
did that.
done a lot of their work. And the Gypsy Queen died there at the townhouse, and they buried her over at Marshall Cemetery.
Is this the same Gypsy Queen with the tornadoes?
Like where there's never going to be a tornado that comes to Marshall and...
Is this the
And
same
their
one?
names is Cooper, and they've got a big monster tombstone out there in the Marshall Cemetery.
We'll have to take that picture.
Okay. What was transportation like in the winter? That all right?
You either went afoot, or horseback, or in a buggy, or in a big wagon.
Did people get around when it snowed?
Huh?
Could people get around real well when it snowed?
Oh yeah, it didn't bother with horses much.
But what were the roads?
Roads is all mud roads.
Is that picture in here of Kyle's?
No, that's not in there.
My grandma has a picture, and you're looking down the road, and it's just mud, that's all it is. And it's in the middle of winter.
Can we get that picture?
I might be able to photocopy it, yeah.
What types of changes has all right overcome?
What's that?
What kind of changes in the area over the 100 years? At all
Well,
right?
you know, we just had them old rough roads, mud, and there was a starting the gravel roads from Marshall down our way and from Martinsville our way, and that's the way we traveled. And when they went to renew Route 40, there's the old brick road, they shut that off and they had to detour around. And they'd detour around Clarksville, or then Father got to see the governor and he said, it's got to be through Allright. So they put a gravel road through Allright. And even the Greyhound buses would come down there, and
Oh, really?
and the dust would fly, and it was terrible.
We had buses.
Well, that would have been in the 30s?
Before 30s,
Okay.
but we moved away in 30.
Yeah.
This happened, 1925 or something
Okay.
like that.
Was that during the Depression then, right in there?
Huh?
During the Depression, kind of right in
Well, it was the beginning of the
beginning?
Depression.
Okay.
Can you remember how the Depression affects all right?
Huh?
How did the Depression affect all right?
Well, of course the Depression hurt everything. That was 1925, and we moved out of there in 1930. And it just slowed up everything. I'll tell you another thing that went to hurting these little stores. Is it wasn't happening right then. Maybe it was. Oh, they got to having better roads, gravel roads, and people got to having cars. And like I got talking out the coffee break, somebody's crying about these high taxes and grandkids and great-grandkids going out of bail. I said, yeah, boy. I said, you know, my dad voted to raise taxes to get a gravel road. Well, he said you needed a good road. I said, and taxes had to pay for the upkeep.
Yeah.
Well, then I said, you know, I voted to raise taxes to get a blacktop road. Well, he said, yes, we got to have blacktop roads. And taxes helped everything at that time. And I'll tell you another thing I thought about the other day. after they got good, better roads and people got cars so they could go to town. Oakley. Does anybody remember the Oakley stores?
No.
Well, now Oakley started stores, and he come from Terre Haute, and my dad talked to him and knew him. Now, the old country stores, you had shelves on each side, and I stood behind the little counter and wrote down what they wanted and such like. Oakley come out and set her all out here in the middle, help yourself, and give you a cart and come up to the aisle and pay.
yeah.
And he told Dad, said, you can stack up a bunch of cans of beans in this way
Uh-huh.
and put on 3 cans for a quarter.
Huh.
While people would buy 3 cans, whether they needed them or not, he could get them cheaper.
Huh.
And that went to hurting the country store.
Huh.
I remember when I got the first gas pump, we used to put it in a barrel and run it out in a 5-gallon can and pour it in.
And that was in this picture too, wasn't it? Just trying to see. Because it's at the corner of the store, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Just went your own way. Yeah, right there. And
And that was,
Even
That's
cranked
the
the
gas.
gas up in that big pump,
yeah.
tank with their hand.
Yeah. Now, if you've been to Moonshine, the inside of that store would be almost identical.
Yes, because it's got the shells.
Shells
in
on
it.
the side. And if you look at it, like you've been down there, it looks the same from the front.
And all right, that's down by where Michael Zappio is now, isn't it?
All right,
Mm-hmm.
sort of. I mean, not exactly. That's Needmore you're thinking of.
Oh,
Down.
okay. Because I remember seeing a place with
Mhm.
gas pump like that.
Mm-hmm.
Mother had the first Maytag washing machine in the country. And that was great. It didn't have force
I can
behind.
imagine that would be a lot better than washing them by hand. What other questions you guys got?
well, how big was all right? Was it a pretty big?
Huh?
Was
Population.
the population all right?
Well, now the population of all right was just wherever that there post office was, really. And they could, now our store was right at a T road,
Mm-hmm.
and they always kind of called that was the center of all right.
Would there be, I don't know, how many people would the mail office, how many families would the mail and post office serve, you reckon?
Now, I never did hear how many people had to come there and get their mail. But
So-
this store sat here,
Uh,
40 rod down the road since Bill Kyle's house, crossed the road from Kyle's house to Dave Nichols' house, that's just 40 rod from there,
yeah.
and down the south, the Cap Jackson store was a quarter of a mile.
Mm-hmm.
So how would he?
So there was what, 5 in your family?
Huh?
Was there 5 in your family or 6?
Well, 6.
6, and then Cap Jackson, how many did he have?
He had 3 girls.
So there was 5 there, that's 11. And then I reckon Nichols,
Nichols had about 4 or 5 boys
Okay.
and 1 girl.
yeah. So there might have been, what, 20 or right in there maybe, sort of.
Yeah.
3 families.
Yeah.
And-
Within a quarter of a mile of each other.
Why'd you choose to leave all right?
Huh?
Why'd you leave?
Oh, Dad aired the home farm. And us boys, he was having us go up there to work. Had some cows and hogs to feed. And we'd have to walk a lot of times. And Dad said, would you boys like to move to the farm? And he got us to all say yes, by a little prodding. And that's why we moved up to the farm. Dad didn't have too good a health. Well, you would listen to that over there. I knew we had to come down here with all that
Yeah,
noise up
that'd be
there.
really loud down there, wouldn't it? What else you got?
What type of people lived in all right?
What'd she say?
What type of people?
What
You
good
I
people.
guess so.
You mean like
And social status.
Was it like
Oh.
a bunch of farmers? Or?
Yeah, they was all farmers down
No rich, not big people.
Probably wasn't any rich people down there, was there?
there. Old Granddad Hill, great Granddad Hill, was supposed to have been the richest man down there. And he bought the first Model T Ford.
Oh, yeah?
Now, he didn't live right there in Allright.
Mhm.
He lived 3 or 4 miles away. And the Spidlers, we all felt like had money.
Mhm. And they lived right there beside it, didn't they?
Yeah,
Back a little.
they just right. He donated the money, the ground for the church.
Mhm. Was there a church there? Was there?
Oh yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
yes, a congregational church,
Mhm.
and there's always a preacher come down from Marshall, maybe in the afternoon. He'd preach in Marshall all morning and come down there in the afternoon in my time. And he started the young people's meeting. He called it Christian Endeavor, this young preacher that come.
Mhm.
And I don't know if any of you ever heard of Roland G. Bristol.
No.
He preached there at the Congregational Church in Marshall. And he died of appendix operation. He let it go too long.
Oh.
Got up out of bed to go preach his funeral when he should have.
Should have been getting that work done.
Yes, and that was the first man or person that I was pallbearer at.
Huh.
They picked me and another man from Allright to be
Oh,
pallbearer.
wait. Now, the school you was telling me yesterday wasn't in Allright.
Oh no, none of the schools was in them. Them schools was 4 miles apart.
Oh, yeah?
You had to walk 4 miles to get there. Of course, if you lived a quarter of a mile away, the farthest you had to walk was 2 miles.
I see.
And then I walked 1.5 miles to get to Jackson School.
What school was it?
Huh?
What school?
Jackson.
Jackson.
And you went there till 8th grade?
Yeah. You had to go till you're 16. And I graduated when I was 14. But then they made you go the other 2 years. Or go to high school.
Oh, yeah.
And Dad had too much kids and not enough money to send us boys to high school. But the girls did get to go to high school. And Henry Ford said, learn your hands to work,
Yeah.
your brain will work. So Dad said work. And your brain.
Wow. Why did the people leave Allright? Do you know?
Huh?
In your opinion, why did people leave Allright?
Oh, trying to find a better job, but having more money. Back at that time, there was a house on about every 40 acres,
Yeah.
and they raised their own stuff, see. And
There probably just wasn't that, if you didn't farm out there, that was it.
well, you couldn't make a living on well, I said 40 acres. A lot of people had a lot more than that, say 100 and 120 and 60 and 80 acre farms. But you couldn't make a living on it. And send the kids to high school and then on to college.
Yeah.
And
Did a bunch of people move there for like, like people moved to Allright, right?
I'll tell you, you want to know how my great-granddad got there?
Yeah.
That's an interesting story.
That's an interesting. Granddad Kannmacher, great-granddad, was born over in Germany, or Alsace-Lorraine. And over there, France and Germany fight over that one little spot, and he was a Frenchman, and France sent him, when you got to be 18 years old, you went to service. And they sent a bunch of them down in Africa to train the savages or start a colony. And Granddad said, you know, we had a bugle boy. If we got surrounded or in trouble, he would blow the bugle. And Granddad says out on patrol and got surrounded, and the bugle boy got killed. And said, I've never blowed a bugle in my life. But he said, I got that bugle and I went to blow and I got help. And he said, that's all that saved us. And he had, and then he just had so many months or years to, maybe a year or two to spend over there. He got back in France and he still didn't have his time served. And he was stationed at Marseilles, France. That's along the ocean. Granddad was a good script writer. And he watched how the old man signed up for passports. And Granddad stole the passport. And signed his name and signed the other man's name. And he got on a boat and come to America.
That's how you got here.
And that's how he got here. And he never went right back to the family because France might come get him and punish him for it.
Probably.
And then what was that? He just ended up being out this way.
I've heard he fought a duel someplace. And then he met up with old Godfrey Spitler. Godfrey Spitler was from Germany. And they decided to come east to find some place to live. And as they come through Chicago, that was no good. It was all stinking and swampy and such like.
They didn't like the black dirt.
And they didn't like that. So they come this way and found this straight, smooth ground, you might say. And so they settled there. Old Godfrey Spiller was a great carpenter, and he built one of the nicest houses down there. That was right back of the store. And great-granddad, he was a brick mason, and he built a brick house, and that was, you've heard of the old brick, haven't you, where you farm?
Oh, okay. Where where the pump is and all that, those bricks. Okay, I didn't know that.
And I don't know if them two was trying to outdo each other on the houses or not. But you've heard of the Chicago fire?
Mm-hmm.
Where that there old lady's
No.
casket? Well, they burned up so much in Chicago, and great-granddad was a brick mason.
I never thought that was true.
Huh?
Did the cow actually kick it over? Or you know that story about how the cow kicked the land
Well,
over?
I don't know. Granddad wasn't there, but he went out to help rebuild Chicago. He was a good brick mason, got a job. He would go up there and work. And
Wasn't it? A lot of people did that kind of stuff. Would go up and work and send the money back.
yeah. And anyway, Granddad come home and he was, do I want to say religious, but anyway, he brought the boys over to Marshall.
I'm gonna stand up here. I'm getting a claustrophobic.
She getting what?
A claustrophobic.
Oh.
It's hot in here.
And he took the boys to Marshall to have a drink of beer. That's back when they had beer in Marshall for prohibition. And they set the beer out for the boys, and he said, boys, pray before we drink. So they dropped their head and prayed, and when they were raised up, somebody stole the beer. So Granddad didn't say anything. He just ordered another round of beer. And he said, boys, pray, but keep your eyes open. Then the reason Granddad quit up in Chicago, somebody got stealing these tools. And he laid out there one night, hid out there one night, seen that fella come to his toolbox. He had a big brick in his hand. He hit him in the head and knocked that fella out, and he thought he killed him. So Granddad just picked up all his tools and went back home. He didn't go back. But he found out the man was just unconscious.
Unconscious?
And he killed him.
Well, do you guys have any more questions?
I do actually.
Okay.
How did the war affect all right?
Oh, which war? Round two,
Both of
one?
them.
Probably the first one, I imagine.
Well,
Yeah.
the boys went just like other communities. And in 1918, they had a very bad flu epidemic. Of course, that was right at probably the end of the war. And Fritz Kannmacher was in service and hadn't got sent overseas yet, but he got the flu over there in New York and died
Before you even got there.
before he got there.
Now, I think Grandpa was telling me that, like, you couldn't get tires, and sometimes you couldn't get food.
Oh, that was right. And
Because all the tires went out there, right?
now that was World War II,
Oh, okay.
when all that stuff was rationed.
Oh, okay.
And of course, we was on the farm. No, I was in Gary worked with steel mill.
Were you?
Yeah.
Did you help with weapons, like building weapons and sending food?
Did we what?
Did you help with the weapons, and sending food over?
We made, I tell you, I worked in the rail mill, and England was being bombed so bad, tearing up the railroad, and they had a certain type of rail. They sent the pattern over here, and over east they couldn't make that in their steel mill, sent it to Gary, and we made the rail
Yeah.
and sent a lot of it over to England.
Huh.
That's pretty fascinating.
So during that time, like, you all moved up there.
Yeah.
Now, John, did he work up there, and
Yeah.
Lester work up there?
No,
No. But, so the people that were at home had to go to work somewhere then, pretty much.
I don't know. Well, now, if you was a farmer and there was a big farmer and producing a lot of stuff,
Uh-huh.
they wouldn't take you.
Uh,
And if you had too many kids and they had to pay upkeep on them kids,
well, your dad was dead then, wasn't he?
huh?
Your dad was dead by that time.
Oh
wasn't he?
yes, he was dead by that time.
Yeah. Well, anything